it's a cool opportunity because we all just lived through a pandemic and the audience is so much smarter and you can play with it in a new way. um that is kind of leaning into that knowledge base that we've never really been able to do before.
I really enjoyed New Life. It is so much fun.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Steve.
It's an absolutely great thriller. Where did the film come from?
It came from an original kind of idea that I've had for a little bit of, you meet someone, they're kind of covered in blood and they wash the blood off and they need to get out of town and you don't know what they're running from. And that idea stuck with me for a long time. And then I started thinking about why are they on the run, and partially influenced by this world event we all went through. And then kind of, a lot of the work of like, okay, well, who's chasing them and how can we make these stories really similar in surprising ways? And I think that's the origin of New Life.
I wondered that. It's funny because I think right now, anytime there's a film about disease or isolation, we think of the pandemic, but this does feel influenced by that experience. And I was wondering if that was the case, and if so, how.
I think so. I mean, it's hard, I don't know. It's hard for me not to just have some psychic residue with whatever's going on in my life to kind of show up in my writing. But I think there is something really fun that, it's a thin line to walk because everyone, myself included, if they see a Zoom movie or pandemic movie, automatically it feels like something you don't really want to watch. But I think on the inverse of that, it's a cool opportunity because we all just lived through a pandemic and the audience is so much smarter and you can play with it in a new way. That is kind of leaning into that knowledge base that we've never really been able to do before. And like, when is a cough just a cough? Like, when should you share a drink? What is our responsibility in unpredictable times? Are like big questions, that big and small questions that we've all kind of gone through. And I thought that was really exciting to play with. And I think there's going to be, a new crop of films coming out in the years to come that really play with that in really intelligent ways.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things I love about this film too is how it parallels the two stories of its leads. Both of them are running from and afraid to run to, shall we say, at the same time. And I was wondering, in your mind, how do we deal with that sort of fear when we're running in your mind? How do we deal with a fear of what lies behind us, and rather than turning and facing it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Steve. I think what I like, or what, when I started writing, what started feeling good with that Elsa character played by Sonya Walger is that, she has a challenge. She has ALS in the film, and that could be really any disease. It's death is going to come for all of us, and we're going to have a really big challenge facing us. And I think that is part of the human experience of, the stages of grief and shock and then kind of coming to acceptance. So I think, kind of masking that and the hero's journey is interesting, and then also having it with the person who's, maybe the antagonist is interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a really personal question for people of what type of life do you want to live when you just got dealt a really terrible hand. And I don't think there's a right answer there. My film deals with ALS, and when I was doing research and talking with people and reading, one of the things I found over and over again was this radical optimism. And ALS is a terrible disease. We know a little bit about it. We don't know as much as we should. And it's, what Stephen Hawking said. And so your body kind of shuts down while your brain is fully aware of what's happening. But I was taken aback by this optimism that I kept on coming over and over again. And I think it's a testament to something really special about being alive, and especially people who have this view of it, this view of the human experience that I really don't have, but then report back with something positive really moved me, and it still does. And I wanted that a little bit in the film. So I think the film kind of deals with that, where it's challenging. It's dark, but I did want to thread like hope in there. Um, but I don't think there's an easy answer.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the ALS. I because of all the diseases to bring forward, this is one of the ones that is, I mean, every disease, every diagnosis is terrifying, but this is one of the ones, like you said, it's so unique. And we don't hear about it a lot in film. Was there a reason you landed on this one in particular, or why did you land there?
I you know, I have it in my family, but not direct family. But it was really more I was influenced back. I used to work in journalism, and I worked as part of a team who went to interview a young woman who wrote a memoir, and she was around my age, and she was in late stages of ALS. She had to type by, looking at a screen. And then the voice was computerized. Uh, and it was scary, right? It was terrible. It was unpredictable, and I went in kind of unsure how to feel. But I read a memoir, and then we talked with her, and there was something really hopeful about it. And I think there was something obviously dramatic seeing someone around my age with such a terrible disease, of which it's not like she did anything wrong. So I think it really stuck with me. But that optimism part that we talked about earlier really stuck with me. And so as I was writing this script and I wanted someone to kind of mirror the journey of the woman Jess on the run, I thought that ALS was interesting in the way that our body is failing us, and that's kind of like this illness that Jess has as well, even though you're kind of fully aware. And so having a person on the run who's fine but everyone else isn't, and then the person chasing her who's not fine but everyone else is okay, I thought was a unique way to kind of talk about them going through the same things from kind of maybe opposite ends of the street.
And you know what, like you said before, there's certainly an optimistic feel in the film as well as these two characters are moving. And I wanted to ask you, without giving any spoilers per se, but there are a couple of key moments in the film where a motif of holding a hand becomes really important.
Right.
And I was wondering, in your mind, what is the power of holding a hand?
Well, I mean, without giving spoilers away, I think like if we zoom out and just kind of talk about the pandemic, for example, like what does it mean to maybe live in a world where a disease can be passed by human touch? It can be passed by sharing a meal. It can be passed by sharing a drink. What is like our responsibility in that world? What does it mean to be human in that world? And I think a big theme that I explored with this script, and I think theme is like a simple question that you don't really have an answer to. And for me, it's like, how do you like what is your role in an unpredictable time? And so I think the idea of holding a hand is this really human thing. And when it can become dangerous, I think it becomes a little bit more nuanced, where what type of world do we want to live in? And if the world is so chaotic that that's a dangerous act, you know what does it mean to be human? What is our responsibility? What does it mean to comfort someone? And should we do it? And if we can't do it, what do we lose? And so I don't think there is a simple answer to it, but I think visually that about connection and danger and kind of this idea that maybe it's not the smartest thing to do, but it feels like the human thing to do, was interesting to me.
And going back, like you said, you tying into the pandemic, I feel like that was so much of it. We felt like we were looking at each other through glass walls.
Right.
And human people say, oh, human connection. Oh, well, we can Zoom with each other, but it's not the same as taking a hand and some sort of physical touch by any stretch.
Yeah, totally. I agree. 100%.
It is honestly, uh, John, it is such a fun film. With I was going to say it with such a great message, but it really is a thriller first and foremost. But it has this great construct going on, dialogue. What do you hope, as we're running out of time? What do you hope that people take away from New Life?
Um, I, yeah, I don't know. It's a great question. I think I would hope people would be kind of surprised and talk about it and find it fun and interesting. And if they were to take away anything from the film, I don't know. I mean, I think like I really love films that you like kind of open up in a world and you feel as part of the world. And so I think if people enjoyed that film and then they're like, oh, I wanted to watch more films like that, that would be great. Or like, you know, if they watched my film and wanted to watch Michael Clayton afterwards, great, awesome, thumbs up. I don't know. I'm just happy that people are responding to it and want to watch it. And if someone watches it from beginning to end and likes it, then I feel grateful, and that's enough for me.
Absolutely. Well, it really is great, and it's so much
Cool.
fun. Thank you so much for the time, John. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best.
Yeah, Steve, it was great.
Great meeting you.
Yeah, you too. See ya.
Have a great day. Thank
Bye.
you.